The Highwomen is a country supergroup, and this is their debut album. The group consists of Maren Morris, Brandy Carlisle, Amanda Shires, and Natalie Hemby. Natalie Hemby definitely being the least recognisable name of the four, I think, because she is actually a bit more of a background country artist. She does do singing on this album, but she is mostly known for her contributions to a lot of songwriting across this past decade on albums like Miranda Lambert's Platinum. She's also written songs with Blake Shelton, Little Big Town, and on the last Casey Musgraves album she had a little songwriting credits there too, which of course did go on to win Album of the Year at the Grammys. Carlisle and Morris both having their fair share of recognition at the Grammys this year as well, and Shires is a lesser known name, but I did like her last album which came out last year, made my honourable mentions for the year. It did kind of cool down on me as the year went by, but there was just so much greatness that came out in the latter half that it just didn't really stick. So the idea of this collaboration did sound really cool in theory. I didn't know much about it up until it did drop though a few weeks ago. It just kind of seemed to come out of nowhere, didn't really hear much about it. But you guys know I like my fair share of country. I don't touch on a lot of country like someone like Spectrum Pulse does, but I do enjoy a lot of it, and I definitely include a good fair share of albums on each of my year-end lists from the country genre, so I am a fan of the sound and the style, and this collaboration seemed like it would be up my alley. And I think it's turned out pretty good for a debut album. Do I think it's quite great? No, but I think there's potential here in the future for these women to come together again and put out something truly great, but this just isn't quite it yet. The intro track essentially sets things up by introducing each of the female vocalists here, kind of putting in their own verse. I think the song takes a little while to get going though. I like the idea of, like, you know, introducing each member, having their way of starting things off, kind of making their mark, I guess. But, you know, the second half of the song is definitely stronger. They're all essentially just listing things off, saying what they were. I was a preacher, I was a highway woman, I got a gift when I was a young girl. Which, in theory, I think works, but it just kind of slows the song down. The momentum really isn't there. It sets up things nicely, but I just feel like Redesigning Women as a second track really is a track that helps them make their mark. You know, this is the one that has such a bold statement to it. Just this idea of them all essentially reassembling this idea of what a woman needs to be, what a woman is. And I really think that the lyrical ideas on this track are really quite clever. And I just feel like this is a track that showcases their best abilities on the album. They harmonize really well on most of the tracks here. There are some inclusions of banjo on a couple of tracks that I just don't really feel like they hit as hard as they're supposed to. While yes, the vocal performances, as I just said, are really strong, they aim for something a bit sassier on these two tracks, which are banjo led. And I don't know, man, banjo for me isn't a great instrument. My Name Can't Be Mama and Don't Call Me are the two tracks I'm talking about here. My Name Can't Be Mama is essentially a fuck them kids song, you know. Today I ain't the mom. I'm gonna put my feet up, I'm gonna get some wine, I'm gonna have a fun time on my own, which is essentially the spirit that leads the album, really. Just this idea of, you know, women being women. They're strong, they do so much, but also they need to have their times, you know, on their own to be free and to do what they want to do, because they carry so much weight already that it can take a toll, as it obviously would. Old Soul kind of carries on from that, follows a similar theme in the sense of, you know, they're all saying here that they want to be free, they want to be wild, let go of your inhibitions, that type of thing, which I think is a bit more of a song that focuses on an older crowd as opposed to like a 17-year-old who doesn't have as many responsibilities and probably can let themselves go and be a bit wilder. And I guess this track is kind of just demonstrating that they want to go back to those older times where they could do that, but now not really so much. Don't Call Me is the other banjo-led track, which I do find this one really cheesy, honestly, especially that little spoken word bit at the end. You know, the song essentially focuses around how, like, you know, you can't just call me whenever you want, you can't just pick me up and, you know, drop me whenever it suits you. But I just found, like, the last 30 seconds or so of the track are really kind of corny. I do get the idea of this, to empower yourself and just be like, nah, I'm not letting other people walk all over me. This applies to everyone really, across all aspects of life. But I just think the sassy nature of the song, it doesn't really hit that hard. Basically, just start with the banjo. Just start with the banjo. It makes everything sound way cornier and cheesier than it needs to. And I think you could have sold this track with probably like an electric guitar instead. Like it would have been good to change things up actually and make things a bit more electric on the album, on a few of the songs. And if you replace the banjo with that, I think it would have definitely sounded nicer to listen to. Loose Change is another track as well with the lyrical theme here that I just don't think works. Just comparing yourself to like loose change in your pocket, it's just so surface level. Again, like with Don't Call Me, I get the idea of empowering yourself, making your mark and showcasing that you're much bigger and greater than someone else might treat you. Some people treat you like you're nothing sometimes, and I get that they want to kind of reverse that and be like, no, I'm worth more than this, I deserve better. But lines like someday I'll be someone's lucky penny, loose change, lucky penny, ugh. I just think they do the warmer, lovelier, cozier songs so much better. Crowded Table is wonderful. What a great track this comes in. The way the chorus comes in is just so... Ooh, it just makes you feel like you're getting a huge hug from the cuddliest person ever. Reminds me of the best parts of the Courtney Marie Andrews album that came out last year. And maybe it's just my personal taste because I love that album, but tracks like this just work so much better, I think, for them. My Only Child, which is led by Hemby vocally here, even though I said, she was the lesser known person of the group, puts in the best performance on the whole thing on My Only Child, without a doubt. What a great vocal performance this is, honestly. She just completely sells every word she says here. It's a great track. And again, I think that mindset of being like the lesser known person in a group probably put this fire in her to kind of, show people, actually, I'm surrounded by all these well-known people, but I've got something to show too. The violins from Shires on this track are gorgeous too. In fact, a lot of her violin performances on this entire album are really, really good. The track focuses on the importance of her child essentially being her only child, but you get the impression through the way she sings some of the lines on this song that she could only ever have one child. Like, having more children seemed to be out of her reach, or perhaps even impossible. Just the way she starts the track off with, I know you wish you had a brother with blue eyes just like you. I know you wish you had a sister. And then she ends the song on that same line again with the I know you wish you had a brother with blue eyes. Kind of makes me feel like she's just speaking to her child and saying that, look, you wanted these things, but I unfortunately couldn't provide you with this. But still, I need to emphasize how important you are as being my only child. It is just how I'm interpreting it anyway, but it does feel quite implied. But even still, without that, I think it's such a good song. And to be fair, the last stretch after this song, it ends on some really nice country tracks, pretty standard, straightforward country tunes, and this is probably the best stretch of the album, actually. For me, the album just lacks something that makes it stand out, stand above the rest of the country scene right now. Like, sure, it's better than some of the bro country that you hear, but like, that's such a low bar. Such a low bar to jump over anyway. Of course, this is so much more enjoyable than the Zac Brown Band album that just came out, or even the Florida Georgia Line album that came out earlier in the year. Like, yeah, it's gonna be, they're just awful albums. But as a standalone album in the country genre, I don't think their voices are loud enough to stand out, to be honest. I think this is a solid release, definitely. But, I'm not getting that much out of the individual performances from Maren Morris, especially, to be honest, on this album. Really don't think she impresses that much. Brandi Carlile takes most of the songs anyway, so the chance of anyone else breaking through and shining is kind of minimal. So it is definitely decent, but I just think in the past 5 or 6 years or so, in the country genre. I don't think this is as good as, you know, Jason Isbell's work. I don't think it's as good as Casey Musgraves' work. Even Gold Now, which wasn't even Casey's best album, I think is better than this. Laurie McKenna's The Bird and the Rifle, Courtney Marie Andrews, I already mentioned, Jason Eady's self-titled album. Like, there are so many great highlights in country. I just don't think this reaches those. There is potential here, though. You know, I'm not trying to discredit what they're doing. I just think it's a 6 out of 10 for now. Would like to see what they do in the future. There are some really good songs on here, so I would check it out. I do recommend it. But yeah, I think it's pretty solid. Maybe not as strong as I've heard some people say it is. It's probably going to get some Grammy recognition, which is totally fine. I think, I don't know when the cutoff point is for the Grammys. I think they changed it, so this might not even get any recognition until like 2021, which is ridiculous. I don't know why the Grammys do that, but that's just what they do. But either way, I think it will get some recognition, and I would like to see it. I would like to see it. I would. So thank you for watching my review. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think, if you agree or disagree in the comments. Do have a good day. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Goodbye.